Greetings everyone, Ryan Sprague here, host of Somewhere in the Skies. For over 7 years and more than 400 episodes, the Somewhere in the Skies podcast has always been free to listen to, but it's not free to create. So we offer several ways to help support our efforts and get rewards in return. If you listen to the podcast on Apple, you can click the subscribe button at the top of your Somewhere in the Skies feed to become a premium Apple subscriber. Or you can join our Patreon campaign with several tiers available. Both of these options give you the same benefits and rewards: ad-free episodes, early access to the main show, and bonus episodes and content. Help keep the lights on at the Somewhere in the Skies HQ, and help us continue to grow by becoming a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/somewhereskies, or by clicking the subscribe button at the top of your Apple feed. Thank you for your continued support, and keep looking up.
Thank you. Some people came a very long way to be with us today. Some people got on flights early this morning. Some people drove for many hours in a car. So for everyone who didn't get enough sleep last night or is jet lagged, thank you for your sacrifices. We're very happy that you're here with us today. So my job right now is just like an airline flight attendant to tell you where the emergency exits are and how this is going to go. So the first thing is that we are going to read some written statements today. And I know cue collective eye roll, but we're just doing that to set the table. All right, so it'll take us about an hour to move through all of them. The good news is we all read pretty well, so it shouldn't be too torturous. And after the hour is over, we might run a little bit longer than that. We're going to take a 15-minute break, let everyone have a bio break or move around, move your body. Then we'll bring you back in for Q&A. The Q&A will go for an hour as long as it needs to. And then we can be here together until 5 o'clock. So we don't have to feel anxious about the amount of time that we have. We can be chill about it, and we want everybody to have a chance to come up ultimately and meet the presenters here. So know that you'll have plenty of time to do that. What else am I going to say? I think I just did it all.
QR codes.
The QR codes. So that was, we weren't quite sure when to do that. Rumor had it QR codes were on the wall, but they're,
Yeah, they're posted on the
all right. And so the QR codes are for the videos. Is that right?
yes, to download the materials.
All right. So so she just said it. So we have QR codes on the wall if you want to download the videos later. All right. We good? Everybody else okay? Yes. We're ready for this? All right. James, you ready?
Ready.
Let's make it happen. Yes? All right. All right. So I'm Karin Austin. I'm the managing director at the John Mack Institute and the Center for the Impossible at Rice University. Together with founder Dr. Jeffrey Kreipel and Amanda Foki, head of special collections at the Woodson Research Center, we are spearheading a large-scale metadata research initiative to better understand the patterns of human experience related to the phenomenon. Today, though, I'm here in service to this with all my heart and love and support. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you. So, with that said, to not bury the lead, this conference addresses the existence of non-human biologics, defined as biological specimens or bodies of a technologically advanced non-human intelligence. The first-hand witnesses here with us today will describe their personal encounters with live, advanced non-human beings that were discovered in the immediate aftermath of a UFO crash outside Virginia, Brazil in 1996. What happened in Virginia is a part of a larger story, one that has accelerated dramatically here in the United States following the 2017 New York Times article that brought renewed attention to military encounters with unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAP. Since then, Congress has held 4 open hearings on UAP, an unprecedented step, while the Department of Defense has released congressionally mandated reports from its UAP task force. Bipartisan legislation has established new oversight and reporting pathways, with additional measures still in development. Members of Congress are pressing for greater transparency and whistleblower protections, while highly credible intelligence and defense insiders, many testifying under oath, have reported on deeply classified programs tasked with the recovery of crashed UAP and the preservation of biologics held within ultra-secret legacy programs. In light of this momentum, the public's right to know becomes central. Evidence that we are not alone should not be classified. Confirmation of the existence of life beyond Earth, I think we all agree, belongs to every human being. And with that, I'd like to introduce Kirk McConnell, to help us understand what's been happening behind the scenes to bring this ecosystem of secrecy under congressional oversight. We are honored to welcome Kirk McConnell.
Hi, I served for 37 years on the staff of the Senate Armed Services Committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee, and the House Intelligence Committee, retiring from government service almost 2 years ago. I was among the staff from the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee who collaboratively investigated the UAP issue on behalf of the senators from both parties on both committees. After the seminal articles from the New York Times in 2017 that Karin mentioned and that I'm sure all of you are aware of. As extraordinary as the claims sound of the witnesses that you will be hearing from today about a crash retrieval and the recovery of non-human beings from Virginia in 1996, behind the scenes, similar reports have reached senators and staff conducting the investigation that I referred to. Many of you in attendance today or tuning in to this event are familiar with the public statements of now Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, who has been very outspoken on this matter. As Vice Chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, he clearly conveyed how seriously he takes these allegations. He and other senators held meetings and interviews in so-called sensitive compartmented intelligence facilities, SCIFs, over a period of years with very credible sources reporting both direct and secondhand knowledge of the reality of highly intelligent non-human beings. Government retrievals and reverse engineering of craft not made by human beings, and the recovery of bodies of non-human beings. These reports alleged hidden government activities like those you will hear about today, stretching across many decades. What these folks are going to tell you today in person and remotely are astounding, but they're not the only credible testimony about such events. Thank you.
Kirk is actually going to be back later to provide some closing remarks for us. I should also make a note here, we're potentially expecting Representative Burleson. Is that true?
Yes, he said he's coming.
Okay, so there may be a moment where everything pauses and we hiccup and we bring Burleson on stage. So just bear with us if that happens, and hopefully it will. Anyway, thank you, Kirk. We look forward to hearing your closing remarks. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jacques Vallée remotely. Unable to attend the event in person, he generously agreed to record a statement for us. Jacques is a renowned scientific investigator, a cultural icon in this field, and one of its most influential thinkers.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacques Vallée. I'm speaking at the request of Mr. James Fox, because a few years ago I initiated the system of multiple databases used by a DIA-sponsored program at Bigelow Aerospace as a cleared member of a scientific team charged with the study of UFO, UAP phenomena. The data warehouse system contained data about 260,000 screened reports of anomalous objects in flight and hundreds of reports of creatures, live or dead, associated with crashed or landed vehicles of unknown provenance, including some similar to those in Virginia, thus providing useful multinational and historical context. My current research is taking us to deeper levels with new on-site analytical and physical research on historical cases, such as the 1945 case in San Antonio, New Mexico, the 1964 case in Socorro, New Mexico, also, and the 1965 case in Valençol in France. In those and several others, new physical and environmental data was collected. The observations involve a total of 7 creatures, generally similar in size and general body shape to those described by the witnesses in Virginia, Brazil, and by Mr. Fox, providing both context and statistical support for current and future findings. In particular, all the creatures just mentioned breathed air normally. Beyond this, I currently serve in a private capacity on the Scientific Advisory Board of the French Government National Center for Space Studies, CNES. That unit has actively researched the UFO problem since 1975, including national cases of close encounters with the presence of occupants, a number of which I have also studied on site. It should be clear, however, that I do not represent any of these government organizations in this or any other context. The Virginia incident of 1996 in Brazil, researched and documented by James Fox, fits within cases already known in scientific and medical records, many of which have remained classified. Relaxing the classification requirements while preserving security of essential facilities such as the nuclear labs would make it possible to inform and enlist the scientific community at a higher level. Action by the executive branch to allow more open exchange would be world-changing. As the Virginia case proves, allowing more open contact at an international level would yield better understanding of the global issues. The current segmentation of the data hinders any serious research into what appears to be an extraterrestrial phenomenon empowered by advanced artificial intelligence. Open archives do exist to some extent, describing the physical and biological environment of the crafts and their occupants. Socorro and Valensol in particular, two unclassified cases officially deemed unidentified by multiple government agencies, have yielded evidence of traces, recovered materials, and environmental effects. But we know that much more is available. The Virginia case presents exceptional new knowledge beyond what was already known. It improves our information in two fundamental ways. First, in the ability to reconstruct what happened to the craft and its occupants from beginning to end. And second, in the professional description of the anatomical and behavioral features of the live creature recovered by authorities within a short time of the crash and to the point of its death. By this achievement, James' long and perilous project has opened up an entirely new field of research.
Thank you, Jacques. His perspective, of course, reminds us of the long arc of inquiry that has led us to this very moment. It's now my honor to introduce James Fox, the documentary filmmaker who spearheaded today's event. His work has consistently centered the human experience within some of the world's most provocative UAP cases. James, at 28 years old, completed and sold his first documentary on the UFO subject to Discovery Communications. Over the years, through films like Out of the Blue, I Know What I Saw, The Phenomenon, The Program, and Moment of Contact, he has consistently centered the human experience with some of the world's most provocative cases. James' most recent work, Moment of Contact, New Revelations, returns to the 1996 Virginia, Brazil event. Often described as one of the most compelling multiple live non-human beings of advanced intelligence. For over 2 decades, he and his team have chased down the facts and witnesses to the incident. He has been deeply committed to documenting their accounts with respect and to preserve their voices for future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, James Fox.
Thank you, Karin. And welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And it was a colossal undertaking to get these gentlemen from Brazil here. If I say I had to walk on water and move mountains, that would be a huge understatement. So thank you, everyone, for being here and for all your efforts. Just informed that Congressman Burleson has just arrived. I don't know how long he's going to stay with us, but I'm hoping there he is. Welcome, Congressman. Thank you so much. Yeah. We also have a sitting member of the Senate, Senator Geraldo from Brazil, who's standing here. Can you stand up, please? Yep, he's here. Yeah. So we will be introducing Congressman Burleson. Would you like to give a quick statement now, or would you like to wait till a little bit later? Come on up, please. I'll finish mine afterwards. Excellent. Thank you so much, Congressman. So my work has taken me around the world investigating some extraordinary allegations of UFO encounters, now referred to as UAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. But what brings us here together today is what I consider, and many others, the most compelling case in modern history, farm just outside the city of Varginha, Brazil. Several days later, on January 20th, 3 girls outside the city, ages 14, 16, and 21, came within a few steps of an otherworldly creature cowering in broad daylight against a wall in a vacant lot. Over time, it was revealed that the Brazilian Fire Department and military police captured 2 non-human beings on that same day. According to multiple Brazilian government officials, the crash debris and non-human beings, likely one still living, were flown out of Brazil within days by U.S. Air Force and presumably remain in the possession of a secret U.S. government classified research program. More and more witnesses are coming forward because courage is infectious and there's strength in numbers. This investigation is far from over. We are encouraging a coalition between officials from the U.S. and Brazil to acquire additional records, including potential video and photographic evidence of this case. I believe in this case because this could settle the debate once and for all that we're not alone. I'm very grateful to our Brazilian witnesses taking the time to come all this way to be here with us today. As I said earlier, we had to move mountains and walk on water. The Brazilian statements will be translated by Aline Class, who's right here across, and who co-produced a new cut of Moment of Contact and was instrumental in making this conference happen. Thank you, Aline. I'm going to mention Carlos de Souza, who's here as well, was initial crash witness. We took years to track him down. Yeah. He gave one brief statement in 1996 to a researcher named Claudio Covo, and then he vanished for the better part of 26 years. And I remember we were going to include a segment in the phenomenon, a film I did. And at the end of the day, we were like, we got to find more witnesses we scrapped the whole idea and ended up making a movie. But we found him, and a year or two later, we got him to come forward and share his story. It's one of the earliest civilian witnesses to the events surrounding the Varginha crash. He's a former businessman, a longtime geography teacher, and an experienced ultralight pilot. Carlos made one public statement, as I said earlier, and then he vanished. So we're very grateful to have Carlos here with us today. Carlos, please.
Check, 1, 2, check.
Bom dia, senhoras e senhores. Grande prazer estar falando hoje com vocês.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to speak with you today.
Me perdoem pouco o nervosismo que filme passa na minha cabeça nesse instante da minha vida inteira.
Forgive me, I'm a bit nervous. This movie of the scene just plays in my head all the time.
Eu testemunhei a queda de uma nave não terrestre no ano de 1996, no dia 13 de janeiro.
I witnessed the crash of a non-terrestrial craft on January 13th, 1996.
Eu viajava de São Paulo para a cidade de Três Corações. E durante esse percurso, eu parei rapidamente no acostamento e, nesse momento, pela rodovia Fernão Dias, no caso, porque eu iria a encontro de pilotos de ultraleve, que eu era recém-formado como piloto, então eu iria encontrar os amigos.
I was en route from São Paulo to the city of Três Corações via Fernão Dias Highway in Minas Gerais for an ultralight pilots gathering.
Ao fazer uma breve parada, eu avistei um objeto que para mim naquele momento está em formato de charuto, não era nada terrestre, era simplesmente um dirigível, pois na época Oh, ok, sorry. Em formato de charuto, tá? E eu observei que ele estava em apuros.
When I made a brief stop near Varginha, I looked skyward. I spotted a cigar-shaped object which seemed distressed. Initially, I assumed it was a blimp, common at the time over soccer fields for broadcasts. It released white smoke while losing altitude.
Inicialmente, como eu já havia falado, eu pensei que fosse um dirigível, tá? Na época era muito comum sobre os campos de futebol no Brasil, para fazer as transmissões das partidas. Só que ele saía dele uma fumaça muito branca. E ao ele fazer uma pequena curva, eu observei que na sua lateral ele tinha um rasgo da metade para trás. E ele estava rapidamente perdendo altitude.
It released white smoke while losing altitude. It made a slight turn that revealed a lateral tear from the middle to the back. It was clearly having problems.
Logo pensei, como piloto, que os ocupantes estariam em graves problemas, porque só quem é piloto sabe o desespero que dá você estar numa nave com problemas ou numa aeronave com problemas. Entrei no meu veículo rapidamente e comecei a acompanhá-lo através do para-brisa até o seu local da sua queda. Na esperança, na verdade, de ajudar quem estava lá dentro.
Only a pilot would know the difficulty of seeing a craft in trouble. So he quickly realized that the occupants could be in deep trouble. I got in my car and followed its trajectory towards the crash site, hoping to be able to help.
Ao chegar no local da queda, eu estranhei de início, porque o esperado era um cheiro de combustível, ou querosene, mas havia um cheiro de amônia e ovo podre, muito diferente, que ardia muito meus olhos, queimava meus olhos. Então eu subi a camisa para poder respirar, que eu não conseguia. Metade da nave desse objeto, tá, que no caso para mim ainda era um dirigível, estava encostado numa árvore, e a outra metade traseira eram vários destroços.
When I got there, I smelled a foul odor, like ammonia with rotten eggs, burning my eyes. Half the craft remained intact by a tree, and the debris of the back part was scattered everywhere.
Nesse momento, rapidamente, chegou vários veículos militares.
Multiple army vehicles arrived promptly.
Nesse momento, estava eu estava no meio dos destroços, onde houve que negócio. E esses fragmentos, tá, eu levei baixei e peguei na minha mão. E eu observei que ele era muito leve, não tinha peso nenhum. Parecia um papel alumínio, aquelas folhas de papel alumínio bem fininhas. E amassei ele. Ao soltá-lo, eu tomei um susto gigantesco, ele voltou ao formato normal. Meu Deus, o que é isso?
At that point, I was in the middle of the wreckage, and I picked up a lightweight fragment resembling aluminum foil. I crumpled it in my hand, but when I let go, it instantly resumed its shape.
Nesse exato momento, um soldado do exército, da ESA, se mais preciso, no Brasil, veio em minha direção com um rifle, tá? E começou a gritar, vai embora, vai embora. E no que ele deu impacto, tirou de mim esse fragmento, ok? E eu respondi para ele, não, eu não vou. Tem gente caída lá, machucada, que para mim até aquele momento não fazia sentido cenário. Para mim era, ele vai embora, vai embora. Eu falei, não, não vou. Ele deu um passo para trás, levantou a arma, engatilhou, apontou para minha cabeça. Eu não estou pedindo, eu estou mandando, eu vou abrir a tua cabeça no meio se você não for embora.
A soldier approached fast and hit me in the chest with his rifle, so I was forced to drop the metal I was holding. He shouted, "Leave now." I replied, "No." People in there need help. He aimed his gun at my head and said, I am not requesting, it is an order. Leave now or I'll split your skull.
Virei-me imediatamente, tremendo, morrendo de medo, sem entender nada. E estava muito assustado mesmo com tudo aquilo.
I turned and departed immediately. I was very scared and confused.
Saí do local imediatamente, que não tinha o que fazer, estava com medo, né, não entendia nada, e caminhei até um posto de gasolina, porque eu falei, vou tomar um café e me acalmar. Todo aquele negócio era demais para minha cabeça. Sorry. Desculpem-me. E para me recompor, fui ao posto tomar um café para me recompor. Em poucos minutos, uns 4 minutos, 5 minutos no máximo, chegou um carro escuro, um Opala, um carro da época, azul escuro, quase preto, com 2 homens bem vestidos, elegantes, ternos pretos, camisa branca, óculos escuros, desceram e vieram ao meu encontro. Ok.
I left the area and stopped at the first gas station to compose myself. A few minutes later, a very dark blue, near black vehicle pulled up. 2 suited men got out and approached me. Me chamando pelo nome.
Ok. Deles veio em minha direção, tá, e me chamou pelo meu nome. Falou o nome da minha esposa, o nome do negócio, para mim, apontando o dedo para mim, e perguntou. Eu perguntei para ele, falando se eu era o Carlos Souza, se eu era isso, e apontando ele para mim. Eu perguntei para ele, quem é você? Não te conheço. Ele respondeu frio e simplesmente, você não viu nada, você não sabe de nada, ou você terá sérios problemas o resto da sua vida.
One of these men approached him and called him by name, stating his address, naming wife and business. And he asked, who are you? And this man threatened, you saw nothing, you know nothing, or you will have problems for the rest of your life.
Partiram rapidamente. Nesse momento, eu peguei um papel aqui, guardar para limpar a boca, com uma caneta, para anotar a placa do veículo. Porque, para mim, quem eram aquelas pessoas para falarem aquilo? Só que ao chegar na porta do estabelecimento que eu estava tomando café, quem falou que o carro tinha placa? Não havia placa no veículo. Eles simplesmente partiram.
They departed swiftly. I grabbed a napkin to write down the license plate, but there wasn't one.
Imploro a todos os presentes aqui, após 30 anos, ridicularizado, julgado pela sociedade, não nos abandone novamente. Permitam que a verdade venha à tona. Tenham coragem de falar a verdade para nós. Eu não sou louco. Ninguém é louco aqui. Tenho família com qualquer um. Por favor, falem a verdade àquele que sabe, às autoridades. Só peço isso. Obrigado.
I implore the authorities and people present, after 30 years of ridicule and societal judgment, do not abandon us again. Allow the truth to emerge. Summon the courage to disclose it. Thank you very much.
Obrigado.
That's a very, very powerful speech. It's quite profound to hear someone speaking so directly about a first-hand evidence like that.
I want to say that
I
track him down.
specifically, I want to say that we tracked him down, specifically my team, Marco Leal in Brazil, and begged and pleaded with him to come forward after silence of 26 years. He's never asked for a dime. He's not trying to sell anything. Like, wow. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Carlos. We have colossal effort to get 6 additional firsthand witnesses here. In fact, we hired an immigration lawyer. We reached out to Congressman Burleson's office. He was very happy to help implement getting their visas approved. He was working diligently, his office. He put it on one of his best people. And unfortunately, 6 visas were denied. So we rushed back just a couple of weeks ago, Alini and myself, covert mission, went back to Brazil with the help of the local government and got access to an official building with a podium and flags. And we recorded statements from all those that had their visas denied. So that's the story behind why we're presenting it. They wanted to be here in person. They tried everything to be here in person. We worked on it for the better part of 9 months. And again, I'll remind you, the QR code allows you to download free of access, use it anywhere you want, right there by the doors. There's another one by those doors. It'll give you full access to all the videos you're about to see. And I ask you to please spread them far and wide. They're all yours. They're everybody's. So we're going to, without further ado, we're going to show you 6 additional statements from firsthand witnesses right now that were unable to be here. Thank you.
Eu juro que o que eu vou dizer é simplesmente a verdade e nada mais do que a verdade. Meu nome é Fábio Furtado e em janeiro de 1996, eu e meu amigo que estávamos na fazenda que trabalhávamos em Três Corações, vimos um objeto voador não identificado. Um objeto que não era normal para a época, uma coisa que a gente nunca tinha visto. Ele fez movimentos sem nenhum tipo de curva, subiu e desceu, fez um Z no ar e desceu atrás do morro, na frente da nossa fazenda que nós morávamos e trabalhávamos em 96. O objeto ele era cilíndrico, era do tamanho mais ou menos do micro-ônibus, e o movimento que ele fez no ar, eu nunca vi se repetir isso, nem nos dias atuais, nas aeronaves mais tecnológicas que nós temos hoje. Aquele objeto fez um pouso, e no dia seguinte, eu fui lá para conferir, e vi um amarelado no chão. Ali eu tive aquela certeza, percepção, que aquele objeto não era desse mundo.
Eu juro que eu vou dizer aqui agora é a verdade, somente a verdade. Meu nome é Liliane Silva, tenho 46 anos, sou professora na educação infantil. No sábado 20 de janeiro de 1996, a mais ou menos às 3h20, eu, Valquíria e a Kátia, ao cortar caminho, vindo do trabalho, observei no muro uma pichação, onde embaixo dessa pichação de uma trave de futebol, eu avistei uma criatura, estatura baixa, com os olhos vermelhos, a pele marrom, como se tivesse passado um óleo, umas veias que saíam do pescoço até o braço, né? E quando que eu avistei ali, eu tive uma sensação, assim, terrível, como se o mundo tivesse parado. Foram minutos, mais minutos, assim, que passou um filme na minha vida. Na hora que eu gritei para avisar as meninas, olha ali, a criatura olhou para mim, eu olhei nos olhos dela, me passou uma sensação que ela estivesse sofrendo, que ela estivesse pedindo ajuda, se escondendo de alguém ali. E assim, aqueles minutinhos que eu fixei nos olhos dela, eu entrei em pânico, não sabia o que eu fazia, só falei assim, gente, vamos correr, e comecei a correr na frente delas, né, em sentido da minha casa. As meninas olharam para ela e teve a mesma impressão, cada um viu alguma coisa, mas assim, apavorada, saímos correndo no sentido da minha casa.
Juro dizer a verdade, nada além da verdade. Sou Kátia Xavier, uma das 3 testemunhas do caso Varginha. Eu estive a 2 metros de uma criatura foi dia 20 de janeiro de 1996. Eu, Liliane e Valquíria estávamos juntos, passando nesse terreno, e tivemos cara a cara praticamente com uma coisa muito estranha, um extraterrestre. E assim, ele me passou muito medo. Ele era marrom, dos olhos vermelhos, com a pele oleosa, uma cabeça grande, com 3 dedos na mão, um pé grande. E aquilo mudou muito a minha vida, transformou a minha vida. E me passava que estava sofrendo naquele lugar, que era que pedir ajuda para mim. Eu não conseguia me mexer, olhando para ele e tentando pegar alguma coisa a mais. Então, eu já ia para a direção dele, tipo assim, eu vou ajudar ele, né? Não pensei assim em consequência. Eu vou ajudar essa criatura, essa pessoa. Quando eu fui para tomar essa atitude, a Liliane voltou, pegou no meu braço e me puxou. Foi aonde eu me desliguei completamente. Mas aí já não era mais aquela Kátia. Era totalmente diferente. Por quê? Porque, assim, me transformou. Me deixou, assim, com sequelas de que, poxa, por que não fiz algo? Poxa, por que pegaram ele? Por eu ter falado, pegaram ele, fizeram o que fizeram com ele. Então, isso ficou marcado em mim. Porque eu sinto essa criatura junto comigo a todo momento, aonde eu vou. Então, sempre vou dizer a minha verdade. Em janeiro faz 30 anos a história. E eu nunca mudei nenhuma sílaba e nunca vou mudar. Porque essa é a minha verdade.
Eu juro que o que eu vou contar agora é verdade, nada mais que a verdade. Eu me chamo Valquíria, sou uma das testemunhas do dia 20 de janeiro de 1996, onde estava eu, a minha irmã Liliane e a nossa amiga Kátia, quando estávamos indo embora do trabalho e avistamos uma criatura. Uma criatura diferente, que nós não sabemos o que era, mas era assustadora. Quando eu olhei para os olhos dela, eu senti que ela estava com muito medo. Da mesma forma que a gente ficou assustada, ela também ficou apavorada, foi o que ela passou no olhar para a gente. E marrom, de olhos vermelhos, tinha brilho no corpo, como se tivesse passado óleo. E aquele dia marcou a nossa vida para sempre.
Eu juro falar a verdade, nada mais do que a verdade. Meu nome é Luísa Helena da Silva, sou mãe das 2 meninas que viu o ser. Depois de meia hora que eu fui até no local, a Kátia chorando muito, eu cheguei até lá, vi a pegada. Tinha grama e a pegada dos dedos dele. Assim, só 3 dedos, muito comprido, assim. E só a única coisa que eu consegui já tinha sumido dali. É o cheiro daquele lugar que ficou muito e muito tempo, uns 20, 25 dias no máximo, se eu não me esqueço, no meu nariz. Então, depois do acontecido, que as meninas viram esse ser lá, eu recebi na minha casa 4 homens que eu nunca tinha visto na minha vida. Era 4 homens vestidos de preto, e eles foi só entrando e foi fazendo uma proposta para mim, se eu aceitasse aquele dinheiro, abriu a mala na minha frente, disse que a gente ia ficar milionário para o resto da vida. Um dinheiro esquisito, eu nunca tinha visto na minha vida. Era uma maleta assim, nessa altura. Inês que abriu, os outros só olhavam. Que eu tenho a impressão que eles não falavam a nossa língua. Só um que falava. E falou que era muito dinheiro, que a gente ia ficar rica, que eu tinha que ir embora daqui. Mas eles queriam que eu ia se eu aceitasse, que era para mim ir numa emissora, numa TV, reunir as meninas, e mentiram. Que, por exemplo, um exemplo que ele deu, que as meninas viam um bezerro, um cachorro doente, um ser humano doente. Eu fiquei muito assustada com isso, achei que isso não era digno. E aí pedi para eles ir embora dali. Fiquei com muito medo deles, sim. Então, eu acho que Eu não poderia mentir uma coisa desse jeito se eu não cheguei a ver. Agora, mentir que as meninas não viram nada, isso aí também já é demais. É só isso que eu tenho que falar.
Eu juro que o que eu vou dizer é a acepção mais correta da verdade, é a verdade dos fatos. Meu nome é Nie Nadeia, eu sou jornalista, sou diretor da TV Princesa, onde já trabalho desde aquela época. Em janeiro de 1996, no dia 20, eu estava trabalhando e logo que saí, fiquei sabendo do avistamento na cidade. Eu fui averiguar esse avistamento, fui impedido pelos soldados da ESA, né, que não deixaram que eu subisse até o local, porque por ser da cidade, eu sei onde as coisas acontecem. Eu queria ver. Parei o carro, desci, queria ir a pé, disseram que eu não poderia passar. Eu questionei o porquê, assunto de segurança nacional. Oh, mas e a minha liberdade de ir e vir? Vocês têm que ficar. Pois bem, isso aconteceu. Depois, no domingo, tiveram pessoas que fizeram avistamento. Eu estive no hospital regional, porque fiquei sabendo que lá havia uma movimentação, viu em polvorosa, mas não soube o quê. E o mais importante que eu esqueci de dizer, naquele momento em que eu estava próximo ao local dos fatos, eu ouvia barulho de gente na mata, como se estivesse correndo, e duas frases me marcaram. Cerca, cerca. O outro respondia, é liso, é liso. Essas coisas ficaram na minha mente por um bom tempo. Mandei 2 jornalistas para uma entrevista coletiva que teria na ESA para eles tentarem colocar panos quentes, dizer que, não, era apenas um exercício militar, era caminhão que estava arrumando. Eu já instruí os meus repórteres, pergunta exatamente sobre isso, sobre o que aconteceu, mas seja incisivo. A resposta que eles tiveram foi, se vocês insistirem nesse assunto, vocês vão ser presos. Então, quer dizer, para mim, havia um processo de acobertamento e que, aliás, perdura até hoje, por enquanto. Que muita gente, como eu, tem relatos iguais a esse, mas que ainda hoje tem medo de dar a cara a tapa e de falar o que aconteceu.
Eu juro que eu vou dizer a verdade, a pura verdade. Sou militar do Exército da época de 1996, onde ocorreu um fato ET de Varginha. Participei no transporte e também na visualização do ser extraterrestre, onde eu fiz o transporte, mas primeiramente, antes de transportar esse ser, eu entrei na porta, na segunda porta do hospital, onde avistei um ser, e posteriormente veio relatos de que era simplesmente um extraterrestre. Com isso, eu fiz o transporte dele de Varginha para Três Corações, de Três Corações para Campinas, onde deixei a viatura e outros militares assumiram. E, posteriormente, retornando para Três Corações, houve relato que os americanos teriam já a posse de ser, transportando ele para um local ignorado, um local que eu não sei.
Wow, this is compelling stuff.
Ninguém fala a verdade, somente a verdade. Meu nome é Marta, sou irmã do militar Marco Elixerez, que em 96 veio a óbito e participou da captura do ET. Meu irmão tinha 23 anos na época, era militar da P2. Falo com convicção que muitas das pessoas levam o caso para ser fantástico, e não é. É um caso muito sério. Realmente, meu irmão participou da captura do ET e veio a óbito. A causa indefinida, até hoje indefinida. Mas a gente vai esclarecer isso, custe o que custar. Passe o tempo que passar, nada fica encoberto. Mas eu gostaria que as pessoas que soubessem um pouco mais, que viessem e se pronunciassem, mas desde que dizendo a verdade. Eu perdi uma parte na qual não vou ser restaurada nunca mais. Eu queria que o governo, as autoridades falassem o que realmente aconteceu no dia, o porquê que se escondem, né? Eu sei que pode existir pessoas que não vão entender, mas eu acredito que muitas das pessoas, a maioria, irá entender esse caso sim. Estou aqui esperando uma resposta da sociedade, da população, quem sabe de algum militar que queira falar. Hoje eu aguardo. E vamos torcer para que as pessoas que venham até nós venham com contundência, venham com firmeza, com declaração explícita, simplesmente, se por mais dura que seja a verdade, que ela seja dita.
Why hide it? Why hide it indeed? That's very compelling evidence. James has done some fantastic work.
Almost feels like we should just take a moment of silence. That's a lot. I think we can all hear and feel that everyone here and here is telling the truth to the best of their ability from their heart. As I regain my composure here, our next Brazilian witness brings an essential perspective to one of the most difficult and still unresolved aspects of the Varginha case, the sudden and tragic death of a healthy 23-year-old military police officer, Marco Xerez, who, with the help of fellow officer Eric Lopes, captured one of the live beings with his bare hands. Within weeks, he developed a severe bacterial infection that would ultimately prove fatal. Dr. Armando, the forensic specialist who conducted Xerez's autopsy, is a highly respected physician with a law degree who works primarily in forensic medicine. Over more than 3 decades with the Minas Gerais Civil Police, he served as a forensic pathologist, criminal medical examiner, and critical medical examiner. I'm seeing in some of my notes here that I finished at 3 a.m. The obvious results that I was finishing at 3 a.m. He also served as the president of the Medical Association and Municipal Secretary of Health in Varginha. He is here with us today to discuss his knowledge of the case. Dr. Armando.
Bom dia. Declaro que estou dizendo a verdade e que não tenho nenhum conflito de interesses pessoais ou de outra natureza.
Good day. I hereby state that I am telling the truth and that I have no conflict of interest, personal or otherwise.
Fui designado para realizar autópsia no corpo do soldado de 23 anos, Marco Eli Xerez, cuja morte inesperada levou o comandante da Polícia Militar de Minas Gerais a solicitar uma investigação por suspeita de erro profissional.
I was assigned to perform the autopsy on the body of the 23-year-old soldier, Marco Eli Xerez, whose unexpected death led the commander of the military police of the state of Minas Gerais to request an investigation on suspicion of professional error.
Causou estranheza que um jovem soldado saudável ter morrido em decorrência de um abscesso na região axilar esquerda.
It was considered unusual that a young, healthy soldier would die as a result of what appeared to be a simple abscess in the underarm area.
Realizei a autópsia e encaminhei fragmentos de órgãos e amostras de sangue ao meu colega, o renomado médico patologista, Dr. João Batista Macuco Janini, para avaliações laboratoriais e maiores esclarecimentos.
I sent organ fragments and blood samples to my colleague, the renowned pathologist, Dr. João Batista Janini, for laboratory assessment and further clarification.
Foi observada uma cicatriz recente na região axilar esquerda, decorrente de uma drenagem cirúrgica de uma lesão infecciosa.
A recent scar was observed in the left underarm region as a result from a surgical drainage of an infectious lesion.
O paciente faleceu poucos dias depois, apesar de ter sido avaliado e tratado por outros médicos, com doses elevadas de anti-inflamatórios e de antibióticos.
The patient died a few days later, despite having been evaluated and treated by other physicians with high doses of anti-inflammatory medications and antibiotics.
Como tratava-se de uma bactéria altamente virulenta e multiresistente, a infecção evoluiu rapidamente, espalhando-se pelo corpo, resultando em choque séptico e na morte do jovem soldado.
As the infection was caused by a highly virulent and multi-drug resistant bacterium, it progressed rapidly, spreading throughout the body and resulting in septic shock, eventually leading to the death of the young soldier.
Infelizmente, o médico patologista Dr. Janini não pôde participar desse nosso evento pela idade avançada, mas fez questão de elaborar uma declaração por escrito, que foi traduzida para o inglês para ser apresentada a todos vocês hoje, nesta data tão importante, nesta conferência.
Unfortunately, the pathologist, Dr. Giannini, was unable to attend our event due to his advanced age, but he prepared a written statement that was carefully translated to present to you today.
Quem vai fazer a leitura?
We'll invite Mateus over to the stage to read the statement for you guys.
Most honorable ladies and gentlemen, distinguished authorities, scientists, and representatives of the institutions gathered here. My name is João Giannini. I am a professor and doctor with specialization in anatomic pathology. I worked professionally for 60 years, during which I performed more than 50,000 autopsies, conducted over 1 million microscopic analyses, and served as a preceptor to more than 200 postgraduate students. I carried out academic activities at 3 higher education institutions: Fluminense Federal University, the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, and the University of Brasilia, where I held the position of associate professor. In the southern region of Minas Gerais, I founded the Institute for Prevention and Diagnosis, IPD, where I developed and implemented programs focused on cancer prevention. The access granted to me was limited exclusively to tissue fragments collected during the autopsy of the body of soldier Marco Eli Sherezi. Subsequently, I received circumstantial reports presented by gentlemen ufologists who requested a review of the previously mentioned material. Based on these reports, I prepared my conclusions focusing exclusively on the identification and analysis of the bacterium responsible for the infection that affected the soldier. This bacterium proved to be a microbial agent of extremely high aggressiveness and lethality. Given its characteristics, I understand that it goes beyond the limits of a conventional infection, possibly presenting itself as a highly specialized mechanism of aggression and defense, which raises the hypothesis of its alien origin. We are currently awaiting the necessary legal procedures for the exhumation of the body, with the expectation that advanced studies in molecular biology may provide new evidence regarding its mechanisms of aggressiveness, corroborating the hypothesis that it is an organism of extraterrestrial origin. If confirmed, such a finding would represent unequivocal proof of the existence of extraterrestrial life, implying a profound global reformulation of our philosophical understanding of existence. January the 8th, 2026, Virginia, Dr. J. Giannini.
Unequivocal proof of the existence of ET life. Doesn't get better than that.
Thank you, Dr. Armando. We have the distinct honor of, as I've announced earlier, Senator João, who's here, and we thought we would offer him a quick opportunity to say something if he'd like, take a few-minute break, and then we're going to present Dr. Italo, who allegedly had face-to-face contact with the creature, some level of communication for 3 to 4 minutes after we take a short little break. So, Senator, if you'd like to come up and say a little brief word, we're happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My English is not so good, so I would like to, Aline will help me. É uma honra ter recebido o convite seu, Jamie Foxx, para estarmos aqui hoje.
It's a great honor to have received the invitation from James Fox to be here today.
Eu não vim em nome do Senado do Brasil.
I did not come representing the Brazilian Senate.
Desde pequeno, eu tenho curiosidade nesse assunto.
Since I was little, I've been curious about this subject.
Então, eu fiz questão de vir aqui pagando do meu bolso,
So I made sure to come here on my own account.
Trazendo amigos como o Coronel Gerson Gomes,
Bringing friends such as the Colonel Gerson Gomes.
que é um jornalista independente muito respeitado do Brasil,
That's a very respected independent journalist in Brazil.
para compartilhar com vocês esse momento histórico.
To share with you here this historical moment.
Eu sou do Ceará,
I'm from Ceará, a state in
estado
Brazil,
no nordeste do Brasil.
in the north of Brazil.
E lá nós tivemos uma brilhante escritora chamada Raquel de Queiroz.
We have a brilliant writer there called Raquel de Queiroz.
Ela escrevia mensalmente na revista mais importante do Brasil.
She wrote monthly to the most important magazine in Brazil.
E quebrou um paradigma escrevendo um artigo sobre um avistamento em Quixadá, que fica no meu estado.
And she broke the paradigm by writing about this UFO case in Quixadá,
Com 20 testemunhas confirmando.
with 20 witnesses confirming it.
Nós tivemos outro caso no Brasil que é muito emblemático também,
There is another puzzling case in Brazil also
que é a Operação Prato,
that's called Operação Prato, Operation Plate,
que a Força Aérea Brasileira
that the Brazilian Air Force
identificou em vários estados do Brasil,
identified in several states over Brazil
na mesma noite,
on the same evening,
vários objetos voadores não identificados.
many UFO or UAPs.
Mas o caso mais simbólico e que mais repercute no mundo
But the most symbolic case and the one of most repercussion in the world
é o caso de Varginha.
is the Varginha case.
Tem um grande humanista brasileiro de Minas Gerais também,
There is a great Brazilian humanist also from the state of Minas Gerais,
pacifista considerado pelo povo brasileiro como o mineiro do século, que nasceu em Minas Gerais.
a pacifist considered by Brazilians, considerado o quê?
É considerado como o brasileiro de todos os tempos, um grande brasileiro de todos os tempos,
like the great Brazilian of all times, the pacifist,
Chico Xavier,
Chico Xavier.
ele fez um documentário, James, que foi feito em relação à sua fala da data limite de Chico Xavier.
He made a documentary talking about the limit date of Chico Xavier.
Não ele que fez, fizeram um documentário que está aberto,
They
gratuito.
made a documentary about him.
E ele diz que com 50 anos após o homem chegar na Lua,
And he said that 50 years after man has reached the moon,
se nós não tivéssemos a Terceira Guerra Mundial,
if we didn't have the Third World War,
o mundo iria conhecer em pouco tempo
the world would shortly come to know
um contato mais próximo com seres de outros planetas.
a closer contact with beings from other planets.
E eu quero parabenizar Jamie pela sua coragem.
He wants to congratulate James for his courage.
Eu quero parabenizar também 2 convidados que foram ao Senado do Brasil,
He wants to also congratulate 2 guests that came to the Brazilian Senate.
que nós fizemos 3 anos atrás um evento mundial no Senado do Brasil sobre os 75 anos de ufologia.
They did a 70-year ufology celebration event.
O detetive aposentado da Polícia Federal, da Polícia Inglesa, Gary Heseltine,
Retired detective of the English police.
e Robert Lambert Salas, comandante da reserva do Exército Americano e pesquisador de ufologia.
Commander of the US Army and UFO researcher.
Foi um evento com uma presença de pesquisadores, ufólogos
It was a great event with researchers
do Brasil.
in Brazil.
E para encerrar,
And to finish,
esses brasileiros aqui que estão comigo têm muita coragem.
these Brazilians up here with me are very courageous.
Não é fácil tratar desse assunto no Brasil, que existe o julgamento e é entendido por muitas pessoas como chacota.
It's not easy to deal with the subject matter in Brazil. There's a lot of ridicule and a lot of fun poked at these people.
E nós vivemos um momento hoje gravíssimo político no Brasil,
And we are in a dire political moment in Brazil also,
de caçada à liberdade de expressão,
where they're hunting down freedom of expression,
com presos políticos, mais de 1.000 presos políticos.
with more than 1,000 political prisoners.
E falar desse assunto hoje também precisa ter muita coragem.
And to speak about this today also requires a lot of courage.
Eu faço um apelo às autoridades americanas que porventura estejam aqui,
He makes an appeal to the American authorities that may be here today,
que possam ter alguns elementos desse caso de Varginha, possam ter trazido aos Estados Unidos,
that they can bring some of the elements of the Varginha case to the United States,
que possam compartilhar conosco. Eu estarei à disposição
that they may share that with us, that he will be available,
e cobrarei transparência também do governo brasileiro
and he will also require transparency from the Brazilian government
para que a verdade triunfe.
so that the truth may triumph.
Muito obrigado a todos.
Thank you very much.
James Fox has done a formidably good job in putting these witnesses together. This is extraordinary evidence. As the pathologist who read the statement conveyed, this is the opportunity for absolutely carte blanche evidence.
All right. This has gone on a little longer than we thought, but that happens. And so I can feel the tension in the room. People need to squiggle and move around for a few minutes. So Why don't we actually take the 15-minute break now?
Couple minute break.
10, 10, negotiate. Women need a few minutes. So I just wanted to say, yeah, we have 3 speakers left, right? We have Dr. Italo and Colonel Clausen and what's your name, Kirk? And then I don't know, Representative Burleson, I'm concerned about your timing. Do you need to leave soon? Should we? You're okay.
Good.
All right, fantastic. All right, 10 minutes.
Couple minute break.
We'll see you
guys,
here.
and then we'll
See you back. All right, thanks.
This is a great opportunity.
Greetings, everyone. Ryan Sprague here, host of Somewhere in the Skies. For over 7 years and more than 400 episodes, the Somewhere in the Skies podcast has always been free to listen to, but it's not free to create. So we offer several ways to help support our efforts and get rewards in return. If you listen to the podcast on Apple, you can click the subscribe button at the top of your Somewhere in the Skies feed to become a premium Apple subscriber. Or you can join our Patreon campaign with several tiers available. Both of these options give you the same benefits and rewards: ad-free episodes, early access to the main show, and bonus episodes and content. Help keep the lights on at the Somewhere in the Skies HQ, and help us continue to grow by becoming a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/somewhereskies, or by clicking the subscribe button at the top of your Apple feed. Thank you for your continued support, and keep looking up.
I'll try to grab Carlos as well. Okay, you take questions. I'm
Sure.
gonna try to grab some people.
Cool. I have questions, Ross, and we can replay any of the witness testimony. We can replay any of the, we have James's opening, we have the senator from Brazil, the pathologist. So anything you want to call for, I've got.
No problem at all. Keep on firing with those viewer comments and questions, Andy. I think people are interested to get some feedback. So let's give them some feedback.
This one is a little long. You may or may not have an answer, but it's asking about your sources specifically on this case. Do you have sources within the program who worked on this craft or biologics, that were recovered? And if so, what other cases have people from within the confirmed program been working on? That seems to be the question here.
I have to be very careful here because I have to protect sources. So I can't say which craft and which biologics my sources have worked on, because that enables identification of them, or at least it reduces it to a very narrow group of people. You are correct. I am talking to people in the program, and this, when we talk about this is a covert program which is allegedly operating illegally, at least according to people in Congress who are aware of this, which is involved in the retrieval and the attempted reverse engineering of non-human craft. It also involves the investigation of alleged biologics, as we call non-human beings, highly intelligent beings that are actually operating these craft. Incredibly, yes, there are sources who are speaking to me and other people who are coming forward privately saying they want to give evidence, but they're terrified at the moment because what they're seeing is a lassitude from Congress. They're not seeing, even though we have good people like Representative Eric Burleson, who's here at the conference today, they're not seeing a momentum from the senior people in Congress who should be taking leadership on this. One of the great disappointments, frankly, at the moment is we have people in the current administration, President Trump's administration, like President Trump himself, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State and the acting National Security Advisor, John Ratcliffe, the CIA Director, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, Kash Patel, the head of the FBI. All of these people have pledged accountability and transparency and openness when they were not in government. Now that they've come into government, they all seem to have suffered a collective amnesia and forgotten what they've promised the public. President Trump himself offered to be more transparent about the UAP videos that are allegedly being held by the Pentagon and the intelligence community, and we have not seen a whisper from the president on this issue. And frankly, there's going to be no change in that unless and until momentum builds in Congress. But yes, there are sources that are talking about the recovery of individual craft. I'm not going to say which ones and which incidents, but Virginia is probably one of them. Let's say that.
All right, Roscoe. This next question is, well, I'll put it up on the screen. We can say whether we want to say it. What observations have been made from the physical appearance of the NHI that might give an indication as to what its natural environment was like? Maybe wherever it came from. Any ability to speak to that?
Yeah, well, it's fascinating to me. I mean, this is literally a three-dimensional representation of the Virginia being that I was sent by a very nice gentleman in Scotland who does this kind of 3D modeling. And what the witnesses describe is a brown being with slight horn objects above its forehead, oleaginous skin, oily skin, and some people say red eyes. Other people give a different color of red, a slightly softer red. But basically, it's humanoid. What's interesting about this is humanoid, which is interesting. You'd wonder how often in the universe an alien intelligent species evolves to have arms, legs, eyes, binocular vision like humans. What's going on here? Is there some connection between us and them? We don't know a lot, frankly, about the biologics because I suspect there is a facility I'm aware of on the East Coast near Washington, D.C., where a lot of these biologics are taken. And frankly, the United States is sitting on the evidence and denying publicly any knowledge of extraterrestrial engagement with this planet. It's going to be very funny after this press conference to see how the government responds in light of the fact that we do have first-hand evidence from witnesses. We're talking here about witnesses who are saying they have had not only visual contact with a being, but also with their craft, but also telepathically communicating with that being. James, incredibly, I wasn't aware he was going to be bringing this witness forward, but the witness who testified with his face disguised was a Brazilian military soldier who had transported the being to the Campinas airbase, where allegedly an American aircraft arrived to take the being and the craft back to America. This is the witness here. I think this is some of the most interesting evidence that somebody from the military, from the Brazilian military, has been prepared to testify that they witnessed the being and they were participating in the transportation of that being from Varginha to the Campinas airbase, where other witnesses have said an American cargo aircraft arrived without authorization and took the object, the craft, and the being out of the country. Now, there must be, this is the intriguing thing here, and this is one of the reasons why James is so keen to have this press conference, there must be first-hand American military witnesses who were involved in this retrieval. Pilots, aircrew, ground staff, people must have seen things. And if you do know something, please come forward. You can contact me through Reality Check, or you can contact the Senate Intelligence Committee or the House Oversight Committee, and you can come forward with your evidence. The Disclosure Foundation is a group that can help you with legal advice, free legal advice, to give you the ability to feel safe about coming forward as a whistleblower. There are steps that have been taken, legal protections that have been set up to protect whistleblowers. Indubitably, there are people out there that know something. If it was 30 years ago, those people that were involved in those retrievals are probably now retired and maybe sitting in a retirement home in, I don't know, Florida or Virginia somewhere, and thinking to themselves, what do I do with this evidence? Believe me, your evidence is important and you should come forward. If what we're being told is correct, we are being lied to by our governments about the existence of a non-human intelligence on this planet. What could be more important than the biggest story in human history? Andy?
This next one is more of a comment, but it dovetails out of what you were saying about who might have the remnants of this case. The comment is from James Cooper Mason. The American companies controlling the development of these craft allegedly that these craft are made out of has made Senate members, Congress members rich from whatever they're smuggling. Can you just speak a little bit to the American, aerospace industry and their role in collecting?
Well, okay. We know it's a matter of public record that a number of aerospace companies are significant major donors to key chair people in some of the key oversight committees. Looks like the conference is about to start again. I don't know whether they're receiving quids directly, but certainly they're getting political donations. Here we go again.
You ready?
Ready.
Okay. Our next Brazilian witness, are we all here? Yes, good, mostly. All right. Our next Brazilian witness brings an essential perspective to one of the most difficult and still unresolved aspects of the Varginha case. The sudden and tragic, oh no, wrong person.
Yep, no problem.
I told you 3 a.m. There's not enough coffee.
We love you, Karen.
Thank you. All right, final Brazilian witness, Dr. Italo. No, wait. It's a physician specializing in neurology and neurosurgery with nearly 5 decades of experience in both clinical care and specialized neurological procedures. He is currently the leading neurosurgeon at Regional Hospital. He maintains a private practice and is also involved in healthcare management through his medical services company. For the first time in a public setting, We are honored to hear directly from Dr. Italo, who will describe his face-to-face interaction with a captured living being of advanced non-human intelligence, an apparent survivor of the Varginha crash. His experience represents one of the most significant developments in the history of UAP investigations. Dr. Italo.
Eu guardei um grande segredo por 29 anos, dividindo este assunto com alguns colegas médicos, apesar de outros terem conhecimento do caso.
I held on to a very big secret for 29 years, sharing it only with a few medical colleagues, even though many others knew what I knew.
Em 2023, revelei ao time do James Fox que tinha visto um vídeo onde havia uma criatura que não era humana.
In 2023, I revealed to James Fox and his team that I had seen a video of a non-human creature in the hospital on January 20th, 1996.
Depois de ter sofrido um ataque cardíaco quase fatal, em 2024, criei coragem para dividir mais detalhes da minha experiência, apesar das preocupações com o possível impacto na minha carreira.
After suffering a near-fatal heart attack in 2024, I felt compelled to share more details of my experience, despite previous concern about consequences for my career.
Naquela tarde de 1996, eu estava trabalhando no Hospital Regional de Varginha, quando um colega meu, chamado Marcos Vinícius, com uma câmera muito grande, me chamou numa sala de urgência para ver um paciente.
That afternoon in 1996, I was working at Varginha Regional Hospital when my colleague and fellow neurosurgeon, Marcos Vinícius Neve, urgently called me into an improvised intensive care room. He was carrying a large video camera.
Ao entrar na sala, me mostrou uma câmera em preto e branco que parecia uma criança deitada numa cama com uma hidrocefalia extrema.
Upon entering, he showed me a black and white video on the camera screen that appeared to be a child lying in bed with an extreme case of hydrocephalus.
Perguntei, o que é isto? Ele apontou para uma cama onde estava deitado um ser. Eu me aproximei e, ao vê-lo, imediatamente percebi que não era humano.
I asked, "What is this?" He pointed past the makeshift partition where a being was lying. I got closer. The moment I looked at the being, I immediately knew it was not human.
Olhei para ele primeiramente com a perspectiva médica. Estava respirando bem, sem dificuldade. Parecia não estar com dor, consciente, não estava sangrando. Parecia bem, com um semblante muito calmo e tranquilo.
I first examined it with a medical perspective, breathing well, no apparent pain, conscious, no bleeding. It seemed fine, with a calm and serene expression.
Parecia uma criança de uns 7 anos. Um lençol coberto, até aqui, no corpo, né, até a cintura. Os olhos eram lilás, bem como o crânio.
It looked like a 7-year-old child with a sheet covering up to its waist. Its eyes were lilac and teardrop-shaped. The cranium was also teardrop-shaped.
A pele era branca, os braços bem finos, 3 dedos com o polegar opositor, não havia mamilo e uma boca pequena.
The skin was white, the arms were very thin, and the hand had 3 fingers and an opposing thumb. It had no nipples and a tiny mouth.
Ele olhou para mim, olhou para o céu de uma janela, olhou para mim novamente,
He looked at me, then looked at the blue sky through the window as if longing to be there, then looked back at me.
e a impressão que eu tive nessa segunda troca de olhar foi que ele tinha completa consciência do que estava acontecendo ao seu redor e da nossa intenção de ajudá-lo.
After that, I sensed it was fully aware of what was happening around it and our intention to help.
Senti que ele estava agradecido pelos cuidados, que queria ir embora.
I felt it was grateful for the care and wanted to leave.
A sua serenidade e a presença imponente me levaram a acreditar que eu estava na presença de um nível de inteligência muito elevado.
Its serenity and powerful presence led me to believe it had a very high level of intelligence and perception, higher than human beings.
Yes. Parecia um anjo, com a compreensão e compaixão em seu olhar, ciente de que estávamos fazendo o melhor que podíamos por ele, apesar das nossas limitações.
It seemed like an angel with understanding and compassion in its gaze, aware that, despite our limitations, we were doing the best we could for it.
Estou aqui perante vossa presença, com nada a ganhar, tudo a perder, não estou vendendo nada e não estou pedindo dinheiro.
I stand before you with nothing to gain and everything to lose. I am not selling anything or asking for money.
Ainda trabalho como neurocirurgião. Estou aqui porque, principalmente para as novas gerações, eles merecem saber que há muito mais além do que a nossa existência humana. E eu sou uma testemunha. Thanks.
I still work as a neurosurgeon, and I am here because everyone, especially the younger generations, deserve to know there is much more beyond human existence, and I am eyewitness to the proof. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The simple humanity of these people shines through. They're telling the truth. It's very powerful. What courage this doctor and the other witnesses are showing. I just hope they get the response they deserve.
We, Marco Leal, myself, and our team, Alini, we have somebody, I won't give too many details, but it's a mole in one of the hospitals several years ago. We meet, no phones, extremely paranoid, and this is the person you need to go talk to. If I were you, I'd go, it's like, this person saw the video. How do you know? Because I'm friends with the doctor who So we went after Italo. He did not come after us. And we were trying to find the video because obviously that's the holy grail. If anybody out there thinks that I'm not giving it everything I've got, if I sat there and told you all the efforts to get a hold of the photographic evidence, we'd be here till tomorrow. We found Italo, and I jokingly describe him as trying to grab a bar of soap in the bathtub. It was like he would kind of respond. He seemed like he was conflicted, and then he would not get back to us. And then finally he agreed to meet with Marco Leal and do a Zoom call. I think it was like 2023. And I was just fixated on the video. So I was asking him over the video with interpreter Marco Leal, did you see the video? Did you see the video? And now I've adopted the nickname, oh my God, because when I found out when he confessed to having seen the video, I was like, oh my God, where is it? Who shot it? Where, So we were like, all right, we're going back to Brazil. We're going to meet with the two forensic pathologists because that was a huge development. And now we had a potential lead to get our hands in the video. But we kept trying to get a hold of him over the next year. And then he had a heart attack. after he admitted the video, but he wasn't willing to go anything further at that point. That was the video was as far as he was willing to go. He had a heart attack. He said he was staring at the ICU, the ceiling, and thinking, I can't take this to the grave. If I get through this, I'm going to meet with James's team and I'm going to reveal all. So in 2025, in January, we went back to Brazil. We were meeting with Dr. Armando and Dr. Giannini, and we were talking about the autopsy and the tissue samples. And oh, and by the way, Dr. Armando, could you get a hold of, of course, he's one of the most well-connected people within the medical community. Could you get a hold of Dr. Italo? Oh, yeah. Whips out his phone. Dr. Italo. They speak, and he says, meet him around the backside of the hospital tomorrow morning. The backside? So our team, we're not going to ask any questions. We're on the backside. He sneaks us in the back of the hospital, down through the various series of corridors, and then right into the ICU. And that's when he decided to drop the bomb. And he did. And it got us all off guard. So I just want to say, Dr. Italo, it takes tremendous courage for someone who's got so much to lose and nothing to gain. He's not making a dime. He's not selling a book. He's not trying to sell a documentary. He's still working on people's brains. So I know that courage is infectious, and it's strength in numbers. Today marks the 30th anniversary of this incident. We're going back to Brazil in a couple of days, meeting with the mayor. We're going to be giving presentations. So if anyone out there is listening to this, it's involved certainly on the American side, particularly on the Brazilian side. If you're ever thinking about coming forward, now's the time. We have a couple of closing statements that are very significant. I was contacted anonymously by a gentleman who happens to be sitting right over here, right after I did a big Joe Rogan appearance on this case when the first version of Moment of Contact was released. This guy was really smart. I get contacted by people all the time. But he was like, yeah, this is where you look, and the flight logs and this, because there was people coming forward in the Brazilian side saying, yeah, I saw the USAP flight come in. So finally, after like 3 months, anonymous correspondence, I said, excuse me, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm actually a retired United States Air Force colonel, and I'm also a fighter pilot, and I had a pretty dramatic UFO encounter back in 1980, which coincidentally was covered up. And, oh, okay, that explains it. So he eventually came forward to share publicly his UFO encounter, but today he's here to talk about something I feel is extremely significant, and that is this potential flight that came in from the United States of America in January of 1996. So without further ado, Colonel Clausen, thank you so much for being here today. Here we go.
My name is Fred Clausen. I'm a retired U.S. Air Force bird colonel and fighter pilot. I have more than 4,000 hours of flying time in the F-15, the F-4, and I flew combat missions in the F-105 during the Vietnam conflict. I was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross twice and held a top secret SCI clearance. While flying the F-15, I intercepted a UFO. I took gun camera film, which was immediately confiscated. But that's another story for another time. Today, I am speaking on another matter, a matter that requires world attention. According to several Brazilian authorities, including air traffic controller Marcos Freires, on or about the 20th of January, 1996, a U.S. Air Force cargo plane, most likely a C-17, took off from a base in the U.S. and it flew secretly into Brazilian airspace without flight clearance from Brazilian government, and it landed at Viracopos Airport in Campinas. While at Campinas, Witnesses talked of it loading an unusual cargo, then departing to an unknown location in the United States. If true, I am certain that 30 to 40 Americans had direct knowledge of this flight and its purpose. I will now walk you through a potential paper trail this mission could have left behind. In order to secure a cargo plane, a specific protocol must be adhered to. The tasking would be sent to Air Mobility Command at Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, who has command authority over all U.S. Air Force cargo aircraft and refueling tankers. The paper trail has begun. Air Mobility Command transmits a mission order to the Air Mobility Wing at Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina. Another paper trail. At Charleston, a crew is selected for the mission and a C-17 cargo aircraft is made ready. The distance from Charleston to Campinas, Brazil is roughly 4,500 miles. The unrefueled range of a C-17 is about 2,500 miles. Therefore, air refueling by KC-135 would be required. More people in the know and another paper trail. An international flight plan to Brazil is required even if the mission is classified. Paper trail. On board the C-17 is a minimum crew of a pilot, co-pilot, and loadmaster. But due to the nature of the mission, probably more. Maybe CIA and a general officer. The C-17 lands at Campinas and must be refueled. Who pays for the fuel? And where's the receipt? Before departing Campinas, another international flight plan must be filed. Again, more paper trail. The C-17 flies back to the United States with tanker support and lands at an undisclosed location. As you can see from this possible scenario, I estimate that at least 30 to 40 Americans have direct knowledge of this mission. So here's my plea today. If you were a participant and have knowledge of the mission, come forward. You are probably retired now, in your 70s, maybe a little older like me, and have languished for 30 years with this knowledge. Come forward. We know this mission happened, and you know it too. Come forward. The time is now. Thank you.
Wow. What a stand-up guy Fred Clausen is. That's extraordinary. And he's absolutely right. There will be witnesses.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you, Colonel. It was because of Colonel Clausen that our team filed a FOIA request. And that FOIA request is in the latest cut of the film, New Revelations, Moment of Contact, New Revelations. And interestingly enough, we filed it in 2022. We got a response back 3 years later. And it was from the CIA. It was like essentially, because of the 1949 National Security Act, blah, 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 your request is denied. We can neither confirm nor, just blah, 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 blah. So this is why I'm hoping certain members of Congress might consider using their strength to see what you can dig up. That was for you and the rest of you guys. That's why we did this. So we need help, okay? We have one final statement from Kirk. Thank you, Kirk, by the way, about whistleblower protection and specific legislation that he's worked on. So without further ado, Kirk, welcome to the podium for the final statement. And then afterwards, Congressman Burleson's going to give a little statement. Thank you.
James asked me to put something together today in response, in a way, to a segment of his recent film. During, as you'll see if you watch his recent film, you'll see that aerospace engineer Dr. Eric Davis, one of the nation's most respected experts on UAP programs, including classified programs, stated on camera that because of his non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, because of the obligations of his NDAs, he believes that he cannot share further information with Congress about legacy UAP programs without explicit authorization from the executive branch. Eric is not alone in this belief. Many actual and potential UAP whistleblowers have the same understanding of what the law and regulations require of them or prohibit them from doing. So this question of what executive branch employees and contractors are legally permitted to disclose to Congress is actually complex. And it's not so easy to summarize the entire issue of the problems that whistleblowers face in this short segment. But I'm going to try to at least give you an idea of what's at stake and what's involved. Equally complex and far more consequential for individuals is what can happen to those who do choose to report wrongdoing in classified programs that have been deliberately withheld from Congress. I want to outline several key points because Congress and the American people need to hear directly from more people with firsthand knowledge of legacy UAP programs. And right now, we're consistently informed there are many who do want to come forward, who believe Congress and the public have a right to know, but who are deterred by doing so, deterred from doing so by fear. Fear rooted in partially, at least, in misunderstanding of the law, and partly also in the very real examples and experiences of retaliation to people who have come forward. Potential whistleblowers worry about prosecution for violating NDAs, as I've mentioned. They worry about the loss, they're fearful of the loss of their security clearances, the loss of their employment, and other forms of retaliation that are very difficult and costly to challenge, even where formal avenues of appeal exist. It is true that protections for whistleblowers, particularly those handling classified national security information, are often weak in practice. Despite the fact that there are laws and regulations ostensibly, well, they were passed and enacted to protect whistleblowers. Sources who possess information about U.S. government UAP activities or who have witnessed UAP events have consistently reported threats to their livelihood and even their personal safety. Harassment in some cases has been severe. It is publicly known, for example, that figures like David Grush and Lou Elizondo, who have not disclosed even firsthand information about legacy programs, have faced clear retaliation. However, and this point cannot be emphasized strongly enough, whistleblowers very likely do not need to fear prosecution for providing classified information about legacy programs to Congress, provided that they do so through secure channels. That is to say, you don't just tell them in a foyer of a Capitol Hill building. You need to arrange to be in a sensitive compartmented information facility in a SCIF. Okay, so what I mean to say is that laws and regulations are very clear on this point. NDAs prohibit sharing classified information with unauthorized individuals. But Congress is, by statute and regulations, an authorized recipient of classified information. NDAs cannot legally be used to withhold classified programs or associated wrongdoing from congressional oversight. This is explicit in law and regulation. Furthermore, the executive branch is required by law to report all special access and compartmented programs to Congress, regardless of their sensitivity. Failure to comply with these laws is unlawful and unconstitutional, certainly in the view of Congress. NDAs cannot be used as a shield to evade these obligations. Now, presidents have claimed, in quotes, plenary Article II authority over sensitive national security information. Plenary, if you look it up in the dictionary, means total, unfettered, unlimited, and so on. But this is an inferred power, not an explicit constitutional grant. That is, you don't see language in the Constitution that states this. Congress holds equally strong Article I authorities, entitling it to the information it needs to legislate. I'm confident personally that the government would lose any serious legal challenge asserting that Congress is not authorized to receive sensitive classified information covered by executive branch non-disclosure agreements. In reality, for the reasons cited, although officials may threaten prosecution, as far as I can tell, and those of other colleagues that I've worked with on this, no one has ever been prosecuted for providing classified information to Congress. Such a prosecution would require showing harm to national security, a claim nearly impossible to sustain when the disclosure is made to Congress itself. For these reasons, I believe the government would not pursue legal actions against whistleblowers who provide protected UAP disclosures to Congress in a secure setting. Judges, Congress, and the American people would not tolerate prosecuting individuals for revealing truths that demonstrate Congress has been misled, has been lied to, about issues of profound importance. But the fear of such actions, this Alice in Wonderland dynamic, remains a powerful deterrent, and it must be addressed. So what can be done? There is, in fact, a straightforward solution. With the stroke of a pen and a public statement, even a social media post, the president could explicitly affirm that federal law allows protected disclosures to Congress, because Congress is an authorized recipient of classified information covered by NDAs. It could be that simple. If the president or his cabinet members will not make this clear, then Congress should. In addition, congressional committees already possess the authority to grant immunity in exchange for testimony. That is to say, NDAs aside, if you appear in front of a congressional committee that has offered you immunity for your testimony, you cannot be prosecuted for doing so. However, even if the threat of prosecution is largely a bluff, other forms of retaliation are real and damaging. These include the fabrication or exaggeration of allegations of security violations for individuals, leading to indefinite clearance investigations or revocations, manufactured claims of misconduct or poor performance to justify termination of employment, black marks placed in security files preventing future employment, reassignment, isolation, marginalization, or hostile work environments, administrative leave, placing individuals on administrative leave with or without pay. For contractors, sudden, quote, changes to government requirements that simply eliminate their position and their job. And if an individual must take another job during an appeals process simply to survive financially, because it takes months and months and months to grind through these appeals processes, simply to survive financially, they may be forced to take another job. Well, if you take another job, you lose standing to pursue your case, typically. Whistleblowers can face financial ruin, as you can see, especially as legal expenses accumulate. Congress must address this fundamental problem and incentivize potential whistleblowers to come forward by establishing a rapid, assured mechanism to compensate them for lost wages and expenses. Some may ask, understandably, why UAP whistleblowers deserve special consideration over other whistleblowers. The answer to me is straightforward. The stakes are extremely high when it comes to this topic. Few would dispute that the discovery of non-human intelligence visiting Earth would be an event of profound significance. The executive branch appears determined to keep this information secret at the highest levels, making this a major policy decision, one that could place officials assigned to protect whistleblowers, such as inspectors general, in direct conflict with senior policymakers. These factors distinguish UAP-related disclosures from typical cases of fraud, waste, and abuse. Congress may need to take a more active role, even than I've suggested so far, in protecting these individuals, potentially by creating and administering a dedicated restitution fund and modifying current law to allow whistleblowers to go directly to Congress without first filing a complaint with an inspector general. That concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. It's a complex issue. People just go, well, why don't they just come forward? It's so easy. It's actually not. So just trying to create an environment to enable people that do want to come forward, firsthand metal benders, people that are working in the labs. And I think it's important for not just the public to understand, but making the plea to members of Congress. The stakes are so high because I'm convinced, although I can't prove it right now, that they're hiding definitive proof that we're not alone. And I understand the need for potential national security related issues on the technology. If it falls into the wrong hands, and they weaponize it, okay, I understand that. Maybe there's the acknowledgement that we have it, but the biologics, to me, that doesn't pose a national security threat. So why can't we release information on the biologics? Now, we have a closing statement, then we're going to open up the floor to Q&A. We have the space all day. And then eventually we'll open it right up. So if you guys want to directly interact with the witnesses, they'll be here for that. But without further ado, I'd love to invite Representative Bertelsen on stage to say a few. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. James Fox. It's an honor to be with you today. Look, shortly after the film by Oliver Stone was released about the assassination of JFK, Congress took action and passed the JFK Disclosure Act unanimously. They wouldn't have done that had it not been for an outcry from the public that was demanding answers. And it's my hope that your film and others like it will create that kind of momentum and that outcry. Because the truth is, if there's any government that's holding information about the knowledge of whether or not we are alone or not alone in the universe, that is not for any government, no matter how powerful it is, to withhold from the rest of humanity. We are here to serve the people. This government belongs to you. You don't belong to the government. And never forget that. And so I'm here to serve you, to try to get the truth to the people, We're working diligently to do that in the committee that I'm on, and I have a responsibility in that regard. I want to say thank you to these courageous individuals, my new friends from Brazil.
Muito obrigada aos meus novos amigos brasileiros.
Thank you for your courage and your willingness to, risk your reputations and your careers for something that will benefit not just people of Brazil, but the rest of the world. Thank you.
Obrigado pela sua coragem de arriscar a sua reputação por algo que vai beneficiar não só os brasileiros, mas o mundo inteiro.
I want to say thank you to Kirk McConnell. He and others have been doing an amazing job at pushing this forward in a thoughtful way, helping people like me. I was a financial advisor and a software consultant, had no idea when I ran for Congress that I would be doing this. But folks like him have been extremely helpful, and I couldn't do it without you. Thank you. And Colonel, I can't wait to get to know you more. Thank you so much for coming forward today. You're an inspiration for the rest of those who have served. Courage is contagious, and you're an inspiration, and hopefully you'll compel more people to come forward. Appreciate that. We've been given marching orders. We have legislation that we need to pass. We've heard from a lot of witnesses. It's time for action, and it's time to get the receipts. So it's time to pass the UAP Disclosure Act. And it's time to pass whistleblower protection within that or a separate act. But I go back to my original statement. The reason why so much information is currently today being released consistently, that the agencies of this federal government never wanted to see the light of day, is because Congress took action, because the people demanded it. And I'm asking you, everyone here, and all the reporters here, and Leslie Keene, thank you for the brave work that you did with the report in 2017. You destigmatized. That one story destigmatized this entire topic and made it so that people could come forward. We need more people like Leslie Keene. We need reporters that are brave, that are willing to publish stories, and we need the social media warriors out there to continue to spread that information. Act and push on members of Congress, because otherwise they won't do anything about it. Thank you again, and I'm proud to serve.
Very interesting message from Eric Burleson that the public need to let Congress know they care about this issue. That's fundamental. The wheel that squeaks gets the grease in politics. If you don't stand up and tell your politicians that you're concerned about this, nothing's going to happen.
Woof. All right. As I come back into my body. So this is the Q&A period. Congratulations, we've all survived it. A few notes. First of all, treat this like it's your house now, mostly. No feet up on the sofa, but take care of your biological needs as you need to. You can feel free to come and go. Like you said, we'll keep reiterating. We have time, so don't feel anxious about the questions. We'll get to them. You're going to treat me like ATC, so you're looking for my attention. And if you feel like I've missed you a couple times, you can start waving and shouting my name softly, nicely. Ground rule that I would like to kind of just set before everybody. We know we have a lot of different individuals in this community who represent all manner of experiences on the spectrum, whether it's sighting or other kinds of direct contact experiences. We just ask that when you're asking your questions today, that you keep it focused on the Virginia case and on the witnesses and presenters that are here today. We know that there's a lot of exciting topics to unpack, and we can certainly do that later when we're not in the Q&A period. But right now, let's make the most of the time that we have that for the guests who are here. Agreed? Yes, agreed. Okay. All right. So now just the mechanics of how this is going to work. We have mics here so that you can direct your questions, say who the question's for, and then we'll allow that person to answer. We obviously have an interpreter, Anini, here to help. And two more interpreters who can help
Standby, yeah.
if we need that. We'll have, I think, 2 mics to pass around. We have 1 and 1, 2. Got it. So we have 2 mics. And I'm going to hang out here with you guys until we get through to the end. After that, again, you can come up and say hi to us, and we can hang out here till 5 o'clock. There's a clock up there or on your phones or whatever. Okay? We feel ready? We're game? Yeah. All right. Are you caught your, is that a question? Are you're that? Oh, yes. All right. So we have first question right here, just because he caught my eye. And say your name. Oh, and one more thing. We're looking for questions, not stories, right? So if you guys start to have a long preamble, I'm going to gently but firmly interrupt you and invite you to wrap it up and get to your point. With love.
Thank you. Hex Nottingham from Norfolk, Virginia. I have a question for James and one for Burleson, if I may. James, are you any closer to getting the video of the Virginia case and the orange UFO that looked alive that you spoke about before?
Well, for the first time, we have names of those that were in possession of it. So if that's closer, then yes, we are. But there are forces, powers that be out there that we're just trying to see who can get there faster. So, yeah. And I never give up. Case in point, I heard about the Calvine UFO photograph that was taken in 1990 from the former Ministry of Defense, Nick Pope. And I thank God to David Clark, but I never let that go. And eventually, I think it was the better part of 30 years, perhaps more. 33 years, I think it was. And then we eventually covered that in the program. But that to give you an idea, like I don't just give up. I'll keep going until I either die or I find it. So that's it.
All right. So I'm going to go back and forth here. So I saw Whitley, but then I'll come here, and then we'll just ping pong back and forth. I see you guys in the back, so I'll come to you next.
Okay, my name is Whitley Strieber, and I have a question. Thank you. Thanks very much. I have a question from the Soul Foundation discussion thread for Colonel Clausen. It is that one would think if there is a secret crash retrieval program, that those people in airplanes operate outside of normal procedures. Therefore, there's unlikely to be a paper trail there. What about the possibility of finding a paper trail in the countries where they may have landed, such as Brazil, to refuel?
Thank you, Mr. Strieber. You have the American Embassy in Brazil. And connected with the American Embassy is a position called the Defense Attaché. His job is a liaison with the Brazilian military. And he is supposed to know everything that is happening in the country of Brazil related to Brazilian military. He probably knew the day that the UFO crashed. He probably knew of the blockade, and was probably aware of the United States' intense desire to come in, collect the wreckage and the ET bodies. There has to be a paper trail at the embassy. There has to be a connection from the embassy who works for the State Department to relate this information to state and the Pentagon. And that would have been done by some kind of written transmission. So I believe paper trail starts there, not only with the air crew flying the C-17, which even if it's a secret mission, they have to file an international flight plan. That's on file somewhere. The Air Force has archives at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. Washington, D.C., they have archives where the FAA would keep all their archived records. So one day, if I stay young, I'm going to go on that search. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Enrico Melson. I'm interested in specifically the question is regarding the microbacteria. I'm a former epidemiologist with the CDC Epidemic Intelligence Service was my training. So I am curious if there is any more information that could be offered here regarding this possible identification of a microbacterium of extraterrestrial origin. That would be two issues, not only a gross full-size specimen, but also extraterrestrial microorganisms. This would raise the question potentially of environmental contamination, exposure, possibly epidemic. Was there any further detail available to you as the pathologist that you could share with us as to how that possibility was handled? Thank you.
Pena que o Dr. João Batista Macuco Giannini não esteja aqui presente conosco.
It's unfortunate that Dr. Giannini is not here present with us today.
Eu fui o médico legista do caso e não o médico patologista.
He was the forensic doctor that was responsible for the case, not the pathologist.
Chegou corpo para mim para ser examinado, autopsiado, com suspeita de erro profissional.
The body arrived to him for autopsy with suspicion of professional error.
Dias depois, uns 15, 20 dias depois, chegou um laudo do Dr. Giannini dizendo da bactéria que foi encontrada, que o laudo está aqui comigo.
15 or 20 days later, the report came from the analysis to him talking about the bacteria. We have copies here.
E que está à disposição de todos os senhores e
That's
senhoras.
available for anyone. If you scan the QR codes, you get not only the videos that we showed, but also some of these documents, the Portuguese version and the English version.
A bactéria, no caso, ela existe no planeta Terra, mas é extremamente pouco comum.
This bacteria actually exists on planet Earth, but it's not very common.
A infecção por os seres humanos.
It's not very common for human beings to be infected by this bacteria.
E ele entende, o Dr. Giannini entende, que seria necessário, talvez, se ainda possível, fazer uma exumação dos restos mortais do soldado.
And Dr. Giannini would love to actually exhume the body of the soldier to try to find traces of this bacteria in the bones.
Para se conseguir autorização dos familiares e da justiça, né, local.
If we manage to get approval from the family and the local authorities to do so.
Para fazer estudo mais aprofundado do DNA dessa bactéria, para entender melhor essa virulência, a patogenicidade dessa bactéria, que é pouco comum no nosso ambiente.
So we can try to better understand the behavior and nature of this bacteria that's not very common in our environment.
O perito não cria e nem crê.
The specialist doesn't create nor believe.
Mas o Dr. Giannini aventa a possibilidade
But Dr. Giannini talks about the possibility
de, pelas circunstâncias que têm chegado para a gente, anos depois,
due to the circumstances that we were made aware of years later.
Como foi dito aqui pessoalmente na gravação pela irmã do soldado Marco Eli Xerezi,
Like the sister of the soldier that we saw in the video earlier,
que ele teria capturado esse extraterrestre,
that he would have captured this extraterrestrial with his bare hands.
que talvez ele tenha inoculado essa bactéria, uma bactéria nesse soldado e provocado essa infecção que evoluiu de uma maneira muito rápida, de uma maneira, um soldado forte, jovem, que teve uma infecção de difícil controle por médicos competentes da nossa cidade.
That perhaps then the officer was inoculated by this bacteria, and despite all care that he received, he did not resist because it was a very strong one.
Nós, médicos, e eu digo também que eu fui perito criminal, além de ser médico legista.
As doctors?
Sim, antes de ser médico legista, eu fui perito criminal da Polícia Civil do Estado de Minas Gerais.
He was a doctor with the police before he went into being a forensic pathologist, so he really knows what he's talking about.
E eu deixo um desafio para os senhores da imprensa e cientistas, né, americanos e cientistas brasileiros.
And he'll leave this challenge to the press and to the scientists.
Como eu disse pessoalmente no Congresso americano,
as he's said personally already.
Seria interessante estudar os resíduos desta nave que foi citada pelo colega Carlos, pelo amigo Carlos, que eu conheci essa semana.
It'd be interesting to research and to find ways to look for the residue at the crash site of the materials.
Do local onde ela teria caído, se no solo, no pavimento ali, na fazenda, né, na terra, ainda há resíduos metálicos dessa nave.
If at the farm, which is the location of the crash site, if there would be any residue of this ship in this crash.
E isso precisa de estudos de alta tecnologia, uma parceria Estados Unidos e Brasil.
And that will require a highly technological effort, probably a partnership between the US
Porque
and
quando
Brazil.
o professor Carlos fala desse metal que você abre e abre assim, é uma novidade para nós. Eu nunca tinha pensado nisso.
Because when Carlos talks about this material that crumpled in his hand and took back its original shape, he's never heard something like that before.
Agora, do ponto de vista médico, seria o estudo do DNA dessa bactéria.
And from the medical perspective, it would be the exhuming of the body to study any possible vestiges of this bacteria in the DNA.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Obrigado.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. All right. On this side, anybody over here? Yep.
Thank you all so much for being here, for your courage, and for speaking your truth. This question is for Dr. Italo. Dr. Italo, have you had any sort of contact with any non-human intelligence, whether it's an alien or an angel, since your contact experience in Virginia 30 years ago? And if so, what was that like? Can you give us some details? If not, thank you anyway.
Desde seu encontro com você se você teve algum encontro desde então, ou para o senhor descrever mais sobre como é que foi a sua interação com ele.
Ok. Desde o momento que eu entrei naquela sala,
Since when I entered that intensive care room,
foi algo inesperado para mim. Eu estava esperando ver um paciente.
it was something unexpected to me because I was expecting to see a patient.
Mesmo quando a gente vê pacientes humanos, muitas vezes a gente fica interessado em saber o que aconteceu com os pacientes. Eu, pelo menos, moro perto do hospital. Eu volto, mesmo não estando em plantão, eu volto para ver como é que os pacientes estão.
Even when we have human patients, we're always curious to see how they're doing. So he lives nearby the hospital, and even when it's not his shift, he will come back around to the hospital to check on his patients.
Isso é importante para nós, para vermos o desenvolvimento, se nós acertamos, como que ficou. A gente torce para que os pacientes melhorem.
It's important for them to see the evolution of the patients and how they're getting better, because they're very interested in seeing them get through their sicknesses.
No caso deste, mentalmente eu volto lá todo dia.
And on this case, mentally, he goes back to the room every day.
Eu sonho, que essa noite eu sonhei, será que o potássio dele está baixo? Como é que está?
This Past night, he actually dreamed about the potassium levels of this being in the room.
Claro, é um pensamento, eu não tenho contato telepático.
It's just a thought. I
um-
don't have telepathic
É
communication.
pensamento, mas parece que toda vez que eu passo naquela sala, parece que eu quero examiná-lo ali.
It's a thought, but for him, every time he walks past that room, he wants to go in and examine this being.
Não acontece só com o caso dele. Tem crianças que a gente atende, né? Ficam na mente da gente. Parece que a gente escolhe algumas pessoas, alguns pacientes que a gente parece que vira parente. A gente quer saber sempre como que está, se melhorou. E no caso dele, eu trabalho ao lado do quarto onde eu vi ele. Então eu passo toda hora naquela janela e vejo se ele está na janela.
Not only with this case, but when he operates on children, for example, there are certain patients that he feels more affinity with. So with this one, because he works on the room right next to the room where the being was, that's a constant thing in his mind.
Yes.
But so to answer the question that he asked, it sounds like you haven't had further contacts with any other beings since that moment.
Então parece que você não teve mais contato com outros seres
Não,
depois desse momento.
não tive, não.
Okay.
Yeah, because he didn't. He chose to go more into describing what that being was.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Obrigado. White shirt.
Yeah, hi, I'm Max Valiansky. Also a question to the Dr. Italo.
All right.
I watched the movie, I watched your interview, which you gave on YouTube. And of course, thank you very much for everything you told us today. However, it's very interesting. Besides of looking at the patient, non-human being, what kind of medical procedures or what else, actually, what kind of interaction did you have? Any x-rays, anything else? If you can talk more and a little deeper about your interaction in that room. I think from the movie, James, I think from the movie, I remember that some episode about this being present in X-ray room as well.
Yeah, that was from a different testimony from an X-ray gentleman who wanted to remain anonymous. We had actually identified him 5 years before we ultimately got him to come forward anonymously. He provided all the details needed to verify who he was, but he didn't want his name. But yes, he took X-rays of what one would think was a deceased being.
Right. So can we know a little bit more, a little bit deeper about this medical examination? What actually did you do besides of communicating with him telepathically and just looking at him and observing him?
Thank you.
What else can be done?
Thank you.
Was done, I'm sorry.
Quando eu entrei, eu vi vídeo.
When I entered the room, I saw the video.
Havia material de pequena cirurgia.
That was materials next to the being, showing that there was a small surgery that was performed.
Parece que o médico tinha dado alguns pontos.
It looked like the doctor stitched up the being.
Nada longo.
Nothing too long or too big.
Quando eu olhei o ser,
when he looked at the being,
ele estava virado para a janela, né?
He was more facing the window.
E nós somos treinados a olhar sob o ponto de vista médico.
And we're trained to look from a medical perspective.
Se estava consciente, se estava com dor.
If he was conscientious, if it had pain.
Se estava sangrando.
If it was bleeding.
Se ele estava agitado.
If it was agitated.
Inicialmente não, eu olhei, mas daí ele parou de olhar para mim, ele olhou para a janela.
And initially everything was okay, but then this being stopped looking at him and looked at the window.
E voltou a olhar para mim.
And then went back to looking at him.
Nesse segundo momento, eu já não estava ali só como médico.
And in that second moment, he wasn't there just as a doctor anymore.
Eu estava olhando ele sob o ponto de vista de outras habilidades psíquicas, cognitivas.
He was looking at him with other psychic and cognitive capabilities.
Se estava realmente entendendo, se estava atento,
If
se
he was
estava
really
concentrado,
understanding, if he was attentive, if he was focused.
se estava realmente entendendo o que estava acontecendo, se tinha orientação temporoespacial que a gente fala.
If he was really understanding in the temporal space temporal spatial awareness of the place.
E não havia mais ali um contato médico, havia um contato assim muito entre eu e o ser, e percebia que ele tinha uma inteligência muito grande pela maneira como ele olhava.
And now it was the contact between two beings, and for him it was very interesting, and it showed a lot of intelligence from the way the being looked at everything.
Não é quando você conversa com uma pessoa comum, a pessoa conversa com você, olha para lá, distrai.
It's like when you're talking to someone, they look at you, they get distracted, they look around.
Ele olhava para mim.
The being was looking straight at him.
E eu procurei me concentrar para estar, como hoje em dia a gente fala em psicologia, minha esposa sempre fala sobre isso, viver aquele momento.
And he was looking to, as we say in psychology, to live in that moment.
Em psicologia no Brasil chama-se praticar presença.
To practice presence.
Então fiquei olhando para ele também, e quanto mais eu olhava, eu via mais uma sensação, como o senador falou, uma sensação de paz, né?
So the more he looked at the being, the more he felt a feeling of peace.
Dando um recado de muita paz.
Transmitting peace.
Eu não quero parecer aqui um discurso político, nada disso, mas era um olhar de compreensão, porque o ocidental, ele olha para a gente e já julga.
Occidental people, they look with judgment.
Alto, baixo, gordo, magro.
Is it tall? Is it short? Is it fat? Is it slim?
Ali havia um olhar de compreensão, ele estava olhando tudo o que estava acontecendo.
There was a gaze of comprehension. This being looked at everything that was happening.
Como se estivesse anotando todos os dados, fazendo um retrato falado do que ele estava vendo. Assim.
As if it was taking in all the notes of everything that was around it.
Como um grande observador.
Like a great observer.
Como um grande observador de tudo que estava acontecendo ali, não só de mim também.
Of everything that was happening around it, not only just
mesmo olhando só para mim, ele estava vendo tudo que estava ao redor.
Despite looking at just him, this being was aware of everything that was around it.
Então, como o senhor perguntou, o começo foi a parte médica, ver
so
aquele
as
material.
You asked, in the beginning, it was the medical assessment.
A material ver ali, mas depois que ele se virou para a janela e voltou para mim,
and after he looked at the window and looked back at him,
parece que virou a página.
Felt like the page flipped.
Voltamos a uma outra situação.
Then it became another situation.
Beautiful answer.
I have to interrupt just for a quick second. A gentleman here that has to be acknowledged. Camilo, can somebody get this gentleman a microphone? He's at the back over by the exit. I want you to say just one word. Without his support, financial support, this event would not have happened.
Oh.
Thank you for being here, my man. Thank you. Please, just say a quick word.
No, thanks everyone. I'm a very big supporter of James and the cause and disclosure. And I mean, I really, it's all up for you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for believing in us.
Thank you, Camilo.
You have glasses. I see you.
In charge of the
Microphone. It's coming.
Sorry.
Please stand by.
Thank you. My name is Thomas Earhart. Is Representative Burleson still here?
He left.
No. He's in the hallway out there talking to somebody.
Oh. Okay. But he's not here to answer your question.
Oh, he's not
been
here to
gone
answer
for a
questions.
while.
He's in the hallway.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll try to catch up with him personally, but to the gentleman who might be aware, the American gentleman may be able to answer this. We as Americans all know how divisive and distracted Congress is, especially with this very brief attention span. We're focused on something and then on to the next. What's the reality of a real roadmap to bipartisan disclosure? Where are we currently as far as the temperature, the appetite, and where do we need to be to have it become a reality?
Don't forget your mic.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to try to speak for Congress. My former colleagues and bosses wouldn't appreciate me opining about such matters. Staff are supposed to be neither seen nor heard. We're anonymous people. So I'll just make a few comments of a completely personal nature, and not necessarily claiming any special insight, especially 2 years after I retired. I do think that this issue is bipartisan in nature. It has been that way since I started getting involved in the matter 8 years ago. At the same time, there are nuances. I think that on the Democratic side, there's a tendency to look at this as another in a long series of conspiracy theories that this sort of defies belief, and that they might feel like they're the party that needs to stick to proven science and therefore to be skeptical about this story. The Democrats are more inclined towards believing in the reality of climate change and the efficacy of vaccines, let's say. And they claim the mantle of science regarding those issues. I think that they therefore are a little more reluctant to embrace this reality. I think that they also are looking to the academic community to pass judgment on this. And to date, the stigma around this issue has certainly dominated what you hear from and see from academia. So that's a little bit of a difference in opinion. The other thing I would say is that we're not yet at what I would call the tipping point for most members of Congress in terms of hard evidence for the reality of this. I personally think that if people had the time and took the trouble to read everything that really is out there, after 8 years, I read a lot, but I'm still scratching the surface. That I think there's plenty of evidence to support the belief in the reality of this. But we haven't reached that point with members yet, and hence there's a feeling on Capitol Hill that more witnesses, call them whistleblowers, with direct firsthand knowledge, that more of them are needed to give Congress the conviction that there's a reality here that needs to be investigated in the most serious way. Such as the Watergate hearings, Iran-Contra, the Church Pike committees about the excesses of the intelligence agencies and the FBI back in the 70s. That kind of serious investigation, Congress has obviously not yet reached that tipping point.
Burleson is here.
Yeah. Well, I would defer to the real expert who has an election certificate to answer your question.
They just gave him the mic.
All right, great.
So I was just called out of the. So is the question, was it about bipartisan efforts? How that would work?
What's the best case scenario?
Well, correct. The focus, because obviously we as Americans all know that the focus is so detached based on the issue of the day. What is the current temperature of Congress towards the reality of pushing it to the level that you spoke about, making it a serious issue that a large majority of Americans back, as opposed to just a fringe issue? What's going to give it steam for bipartisan support?
Yeah. So I think that this topic is bipartisan. It's strangely like you have myself. I'm one of the most conservative members of Congress, and then I'm working with Moskowitz, who is certainly not a conservative. And on this topic, you have a lot of Democrats that I'm working with to try to get this disclosure done. One Democrat, and he hasn't come out publicly that he's an advocate for this topic yet, so I'm not going to out him, if you will. But he has been extremely helpful in getting other committee chairmen to sign off on four corners agreements to try to get the UAP Disclosure Act language added to the National Defense Authorization Act. And so, I have to have somebody that's a Democrat that's an advocate to try to get the ranking members on the Democratic side to approve, or to at least not reject that language being added. And so that's kind of where it stands. Honestly, I don't see that we have a problem, Republican versus Democrat. It's more of a gatekeepers who are connected to the intelligence community, who seem to be often in leadership in one way, shape, or form, whether it's, top, like the leadership that you think of, or it's someone that's in a committee chairmanship role, or their staff. What I've learned about Washington, D.C. that's disturbing is that staff tend to run the show, and particularly, and I won't pull punches here, in a Senate when you have a lot of people that probably are one step away from a retirement home, and one wonders how do they possibly run their office? Well, they're not the ones running the office; the staff run the office. So that's kind of the situation that we're facing. It's that you've got a very difficult time identifying who the real obstacle is. So that's why it's going to take momentum and political pressure so that we can overcome that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you. You in the back.
Hello, my name is.
Now you. Oh, sorry. I was looking at you. Yeah.
Ross, at the moment, we can't hear you. Sorry.
Thank you.
My apologies.
There we go.
I think it's time for us to pull out of this press conference because we've got other commitments to cover ourselves, but we will be bringing you follow-up interviews that Megan's done from the floor and background from Megan in our following Q&A this week. It's been a very interesting press conference. It's interesting to hear witnesses firsthand with their evidence describing what they saw, what they felt, and what they actually telepathically received from allegedly a non-human being. Interesting, though, to come out on Eric Burleson, Representative Eric Burleson's comments there. Frankly, nothing's going to happen unless Congress gets momentum. And that's where you, the audience, come in, the viewers. You need to let Congress know this is something you're concerned about. In politics, it's the wheel that gets the grease. The wheel that squeaks gets the grease. So for heaven's sake, let your Congress people know, let your senators know that this is an issue that concerns you. And if you are a witness out there that has first-hand knowledge of the Varginha case, please think about coming forward. There are protections, there are disclosure laws, whistleblower protection laws. You can contact James Fox, you can contact myself, or you can speak directly with the people in the Senate, and they can put you onto the right people. The Disclosure Foundation is a good starting point. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for what has been, I think, an historic press conference. Megan, I want to say thank you very much to you for being on the ground there and for tracking the story on the floor. It's been great to get your feedback from the audience. And I look forward to talking to you in a future reality check where we can go into more detail of what you get behind the scenes, especially any further questions that you think might be interesting. But for now, we're going to bail out of this, and we look forward to seeing you again on Reality Check on a future show. Thank you very much. All the best.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.
Hey guys, Ryan Sprague here from Somewhere in the Skies. The podcast has always been and always will be completely free for you to listen to. But creating it every week takes a lot of time, research, and resources. And to be honest, it's just never been free for me to create. That's why we built a few simple ways for you to help support the show and keep it going strong. You can join us over on Patreon or through Apple Premium. Both offer the same awesome perks. Ad-free episodes, early access to new content, exclusive bonus shows, and even priority to ask our guests your listener questions. It's a quick and easy way to support what we do for just a few bucks a month. And right now, you can even try Patreon for free for a week to see if it's right for you. To learn more and to join, head over to patreon.com/somewhereskies. That's patreon.com/somewhereskies. Or hit that subscribe button right at the top of your Apple Podcast feed. Thank you so much for listening, for supporting, and as always, keep looking up.